Hello and welcome to Shogun Social, the weekly podcast where we're going through everything in the world of social media from us, Shogun. We're looking at things we hate, things we love, and sometimes we get some very special guests. Like today, we have Roma Black, and we're very excited to have them with us. We also got our operations director,
Freddie.
And we have
Sam
from Roma Black and
Lauren
from Roma Black as well. And I am George. So if you like the sound of what we're doing, this is episode 5. Hopefully there'll be another 100 episodes. So please give us a like, give us a follow. Let us know what you think. And we're going to jump in first by learning a bit about Roma Black. So what is the deal? Who are you guys? We want to know exactly how you got into the recruitment game, what you do that is a bit different as well. So educate us, educate everybody. What is Roma Black and what's the deal, please?
Yeah, cool. So we're a recruitment consultancy.
Yep.
Like everyone, I fell into recruitment, like as you do.
Okay, is that what everyone does?
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
No one decides to do
I don't
that.
think anyone sort of says, I want to be in recruitment.
I don't think anyone's ever had that plan. People love it once they get into it.
Yeah, Daddy, I want to be a recruitment when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's ever said that.
No. So yeah, I had a couple of friends in recruitment, so sort of fell into recruitment.
Nice, yep.
And worked for sort of a larger corporate for a few years, and decided that I wanted to work for myself. Just really for flexibility, and I wanted to start a family and things. So that was really sort of my real reasoning behind wanting to, do something for myself really.
Yeah, and that was the working for yourself aspect that was more flexible.
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, knowing that I was sort of had planned to immediately sort of start a family.
Right.
So spent a couple of years building the business from my home office. And I guess the thing about Roma Black is that we've really just sort of evolved over the last couple of years, going from sort of, myself. I did actually start the business with a business partner. Just before COVID hit, we decided to sort of go our separate ways, but I knew that I wanted to keep pursuing Roma Black. And sort of, saw through those challenging times through COVID, through juggling, trying to, run the business and be a mum. And yeah, we've just sort of evolved over the last few years. I took investment in 2020. So then I hired my first 2 employees. And we've gone from really sort of a UK-based business to a global business. So now we work with clients, literally across sort of EMEA and the US as well as the UK. And I think we're at 15 headcount now. So,
wow. In 2 years?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know it's something that we loved about you guys is, it's not just a recruitment agency. It's you guys are doing social media well. And that's why we wanted to talk to you, is because we really loved Roma Black's social media. Like, Freddie, was there anything that you saw on their social media specifically that you can remember that, those guys are special?
Now, one thing I see
post
on Twitter, though, is I see like recruitment companies and all they do is just post, we got this job down the road. That's all they post is that. Whereas like your social strategy is basically nothing to do with recruitment.
Yeah.
And
it's taking the fundamentals of what sort of recruitment is, which is obviously enriching people's lives. And for us, it's about finding people that are exceptional at what they do and then finding exceptional businesses and connecting them. And actually, for us, we go see it a bit further than recruitment. It's about putting people in really good jobs, so that they can actually do what they want to do, and also building really good teams so that sustainably they're going to go really far as a business. So then because of that, we sort of take the values and the elements that come with that, and we try to build a brand through that. So it's about sharing content that, enriches people's lives and it empowers them. So it's more about adding value and actually having a content strategy that's less about, this is our job, because people don't really care, especially if you're sort of like really new. Obviously, when I joined the business, I love sort of like the branding colours and like the fonts and the imagery, which is not something you get with a lot of recruitment companies.
And
as you know, at sort of like some of the places that you've probably worked at as well, a lot of people are quite behind with the times. And when I joined Roma Black, it was very much like, right, this is where we're at, this is sort of where we want to go. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we just sort of ran from it from there. Like now, if we do post job posts, we've sort of already got that audience to people to actually buy into it. So I think a lot of people just get it wrong. They're just sort of like almost shouting to no one.
Yeah.
When they've got like 5 followers on Twitter, and it's like, what are you actually achieving by just saying that this is our job? Because people just aren't bought into you yet.
I think that's it as well. The name and the branding is strong. Like it's good.
It's different, and that's what I love.
Is.
Like it's building it. And when I say different, I don't mean like quirky or like edgy. I mean different as in like it's professional, it's sleek, and it's everything that
strong
you've got.
Well.
You've got to kind of you've got to do
is.
something that it really encompasses all of it. So if you're going to have that sort of like imagery and like a really like even the logo, I like all that sort of stuff. You need to have like really strong copy, like appealing. Like, do you know what I mean? All of the stuff needs to be high quality. So that's kind of like the reason behind it. It's trying to build something so that when we actually do promote stuff, we have the audience that's going to buy into it.
Yeah. All right, Lauren, was that a deliberate decision? You said, okay, we are going to be doing social media seriously, or did it just organically happen?
No, again, it really evolved because as you know, when you build a business, like you really have to focus on building the business, right? Building your client base, your candidate network. So social media always does come last in that respect. Yep. So I tried my best, but when I knew I wanted to really scale the business. You know, you always read, don't you, to hire people that are much better than you, hence Sam. So,
surround yourself with clever people,
we really have, you know, Sam to thank for, you know, the majority of the content that goes out. And I think that what I really loved is that we were just so like-minded. And I think because I'm really clear on sort of our visions and values, I think it's quite easy for our team to really encompass them themselves too. So I think that Sam quickly sort of started to think the way that I would think, and that's just why it works so well. But yeah, it's something that now is like the driving force. And I think most businesses, you know, like take LinkedIn, for example, it's always been a strong platform. But I think since COVID, where people really, you know, were at home and had a bit more time to reflect and think, you know, people have started to build communities now. So it's actually, you know, more a driving force for businesses now to actually put out strong content and, you know, have this sort of image of their brand that maybe they didn't have before COVID as much, especially on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think they definitely take it a lot more seriously now because they kind of realise that they kind of have to.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies relied like really heavily on like events and that sort of stuff before like, networking, and then obviously COVID you couldn't predict. It was all online, and then these people that didn't have sort of like, you know, what they call like dark social, which is all the stuff that goes on that you can't sort of track. They would realise like, oh, we have no way of bringing in business now. So obviously over that time, a lot of businesses did sort of like fall through. So I think a lot of people are taking it seriously, but it takes so long to figure out even what works for you. Like I'd say, like I've almost been at Roma Black a year, and even now, like I'm just getting to a point where like I know distinctly like what works, what formats work, that sort of stuff. It does take a lot of time, and if you don't have anyone even putting any effort in, you're just gonna struggle.
Yeah, so you're so right. Yeah, that idea of been there a year and only just working out what works. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's so true. Like we have encountered certain different content topics that we know work. Yeah, so just because of the industry updates. So we know that Instagram is directly competing with TikTok. Yeah. So they now push Reels. Yeah, exactly. So they deliberately give more views to Reels as opposed to just static posts.
I also just think as well though, like even it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have on like the algorithms and format types and stuff like that, it's very variable and it's case by case basis, because a lot of people will just buy into your brand because they like your brand. So you get a lot of people that don't really put out good stuff but get a lot of traction anyway because they're a good company. But then you get other people that follow the algorithms really well and don't get any traction because it does also depend on like content types and that sort of stuff. So I always say to people like the biggest thing is write down a list of like 50 people that you really like the content of and almost do like a mashup of sort of like the best bits from each, because it's impossible to be completely 100% authentic and do it from scratch. But everything I do say to people, like no two companies can have the same strategy. It just works for different people, different things. That's why consistency is so important, because it's better to post 10 times a week on LinkedIn and then work out and sort of like pick the elements, because every now and then you'll have like a post that does really well, and then you can work it out. But if you're only posting 3 times a week, how are you ever going to be able to build up like enough of a database of stuff?
I think that's what we say to our clients as well. Like it's we're helping people like not jump on, you know, post every now and then. Like it's
totally got to be
evolved.
consistent. Yeah.
There's no. I hate the idea of posting for no reason. It's got to be
always value. That's my always biggest thing as well. Like I almost kind of work backwards. So I think like, okay, so obviously you've got like your pillars of like, you know, entertain, all that sort of stuff. I think people get, but I think you start with like what you're bringing to the table to the people, why they should care, and then you kind of work back and how I can format that. So if there's like a news story or something like that, it's like, okay, I'm not just going to post it for no reason. It's like, what's this bringing? And then you work out how you can actually do that yourself. I think a lot of people get it the other way around. They have a content idea and then they're like, oh, actually, this doesn't bring any value, but I've done it now, so I'll just post it. And that's the problem.
Right. So how have you gone about almost like smashing out the stereotype away from recruitment? Because like some places you worked, I still follow him. And
I think the issue is a lot of it is just like constraints on creativity, in the sense of like, a lot of people don't see the long-term value. So they just think, okay, so is this post right now on a Tuesday afternoon going to bring us clients? And it's like, no, it won't. But if you let me do this over 3 years, you will build up a brand and people will come to you. For me, it's all about generating the inbound over trying to push outbound. That's like the number one thing. So if I can build up a brand over, say, 5 years, people will automatically come to you because they're bought into you. So then it's like, okay, cool. So I'm going to write down a list of like values and things that are important to us as a brand and the people that are within it. So big things for us, for example, are like diversity. So like trying to give people equal opportunity for like jobs, that sort of stuff. Like empowerment, so like lifting people up, but then we're like really into like motivation, that sort of stuff as well, because we believe in like actually like, you know, trying to spread positive, that sort of stuff. So it's almost like kind of like a list of like 20 different things and then sort of like feeding it down. And for us, I don't think it in terms of recruitment. I think we're a B2B company, so we work with businesses. So then anything that's like business minded, so it could be like personal development, that sort of stuff, it all fits into the same thing, because it's all about career progression, and it's all about sort of like building out teams. If you don't think in terms of strictly, all right, we're a recruitment company, then it actually comes down to loads of different other stuff. So like, for example, a lot of recruitment companies will only write blogs on like how to write a CV, that sort of stuff. Whereas I'll be like, okay, I'll do something that's like 5 ways to become a better leader, or how to better manage your team. These are all stuff that fits into recruitment, but it's more about people that are already in jobs that want to get better at their job. So it's always finding angles that fit within sort of like the scope of your company or your industry, but it's a lot broader. It's just not boxing yourself in. And I would say the same applies to anyone. It's like if you were, say, a construction company, you don't just have to do like, before and after shots of like a house. You could do like, you know, like personality, like people are actually on the tools, that sort of stuff. So it's always about
behind the scenes.
That sort of stuff. Like it's all just about, okay, so what's like our USP for us? It's like the people, because we're business to business, so that sort of stuff. So then we'll show off the people, what our people believe in, that sort of stuff. It's really just, you've just got to sort of sit down and actually really like think about, okay, so we're recruitment, but what does that mean in every, because to some people it means like, you know, better in their lives by finding them a better job. That's kind of what you got to run with it, really.
Even like your plastic free stuff that you were doing, we saw last week, it's like all that, obviously you touched on what's going on in America, all that sort of stuff.
So those are an example. So the sort of abortion post for one is obviously it's news, but I don't sit there and think, okay, what's going to get us like clicks. I think you know, a lot of the people that make up this company are women. So they're going to have a stance on this, and also I do as well. Like, but you know, so I think, so what can we sort of project our values on something that's happening in the world right now, and then we give our opinion on it. I wouldn't just sort of post an article. Do you know what I mean? And then just be like, that's why it's always about adding an opinion or adding sort of a spin to it. And then the plastic free thing as well. Like, we're quite big on sustainability, and we try and work with companies that are also big on that, because obviously, you know, we do actually like care about the environment and that sort of stuff, and the way the world's going. I do think companies that put sort of like the environment first will go further. So we were like, well, what can we do ourselves rather than just pretend that we care about it? So it's always, do you know what I mean? It's always just about like,
because we work in the built design sector.
But that's the other thing as well.
You know,
like, a lot of these architecture companies are big on sustainability. So we're like, well, let's prove to our potential clients or our existing clients that actually it is something that matters to us. So again, it's just taking the things that you care about and your values, and then just actually, you know, putting that on social media in a way that is creative and people sort of care about. That's the biggest thing, I think, is like, you know, it's really easy to just write like boring text-based posts, but if you can sort of put out the stuff that you care about in a way that's engaging, that's the trick, I think.
Totally. Yeah, you're right. This idea you said about building it for 5 years' time or something, because that reminds me of, I think, Monzo Bank, I think, you know, on TikTok, that they're making all these amazing money tips. And you know, maybe a more old-fashioned marketing manager or a marketing director would say, why would I bother doing that? It's all just why am I getting Gen Z involved? Gen Z can't buy a house. They will buy a house in 5 years. They'll remember Monzo Bank following on TikTok. So
I think a lot of people go wrong as well, because they think, well, they're not on our immediate target audience, but they are the loudest voices online.
Sure.
Gen Z are the ones that talk about your brand the most. And that's the thing. Like, if you can appeal to those people, they're the ones that are going to share your content and that sort of stuff. So there's also that angle to it as well.
Yeah, totally.
Everything we do is for the long term, right? In terms of recruitment as an industry, as a consultant myself, when I was, you know, sort of working sort of the full, you know, cycle of recruitment, everything I always did was for long term. I was building relationships for long term. I never wanted a quick win, and it's exactly the same with our social media strategy. Like, everything is for the long term. You know, we're looking to build long-lasting partnerships. We don't just want to partner with a company and help them fill a handful of roles and they never use us again. you know, so service and delivery is key for us. And yeah, everything is literally for the long term.
Yeah.
All right, if you were thinking of, if there was another, you know, future founder, what advice would you give them then? If you could speak to them one-on-one and say, my advice for building a social media strategy for, you know, a recruitment or a non-flashy subject, what advice would you give them?
I think it's just being authentic, you know, and true to yourself, and really trying to look at your own values, what you want the values of your business to be, and sort of putting that out, you know, to the world. And I guess you have to have a strategy, you know, to a degree, in terms of there's so many platforms now, and you really need to sort of evaluate and see what ones best fit your business, where your sort of target audience is, or where you want your audience to be in the community that you're trying to build. So I think it's more trying to find ways to stand out from the crowd. Yeah. You know, recruitment isn't, you know, a Facebook or an Instagram or a new app or anything like that. It is what it is, but it's people. It is. I think if you've got a sort of, you know, B2B business where you're dealing with people day in, day out, you're really trying to look at what motivates me as a person. Like, what would I want to see online? And I guess that's where Sam and I, a lot of our strategy comes from. Like, what would we want to see from a recruitment company?
Yeah, from a consumer perspective, I always say that to people, what would you consume? And I think that's the biggest thing people don't realise, especially in these, like you say, boring companies. Like, would you follow you, is what I always say to people. Yeah. Would you care? And a lot of the times they're like, well, no. And it's like, it doesn't matter if your target audience really needs your services. There's thousands of people doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's about, that's why value is so important, because it's about rewarding people. Like, you know, they already follow you. You don't have to advertise to them. I think that's what people get wrong. It's about community building, and it's about giving back. So yeah, I would say, would you follow you from a consumer point of view? Me and Lauren will always sit down, and even if we see something that we really like, we won't always necessarily go, we'll post that, because it might not fit the brand, but it's about getting in that headspace of like, oh, we like that. Why do we like it? Yeah. So there is sort of like a science approach to everything. It's all about psychology. I think a lot of people don't realise it is actually really quite like deep in that regard, because you go, why do I care about that? Do you know what I mean? So then
100% people don't think like that.
Yeah, they don't. Or they do, and they don't realise they do. And then that's why they don't learn from stuff, because you're not thinking sort of actively, well, you know, why do I care, or why do I consume that? But if you can get into that headspace of really asking yourself, like, what about that stood out to me? Then you can apply it to your own stuff. I think that's massive.
Yeah, I do think there's elements of social media, right, where there's set trends and everyone jumps on a trend. But for me, that's sort of a smaller percentage. I like to be different, or if there is a trend, like, how can we take that trend and put our own sort of spin on it? So yeah, I think it's trying to be unique in a sea of
for sure.
Oh, totally.
you know?
Is there any trend that you see and you go, that not only is it not us, but it would be like really bad PR or cringy if we jumped on, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. So obviously there are sort of like lines and like guidelines, and we'll go, no, that's way too cringy.
Yeah,
but
I haven't seen the Roma Black feed jump on any memes really.
No,
which is not a bad thing.
I mean, we might use like a meme format, but again, we don't really do like trending ones. It's more about, so we won't be like, say like, I don't know, like an example, but like specifically we won't do stuff. Like we might use like a trend in audio, for example, just to sort of like boost our metrics, or we might do something that's sort of like format wise, but we wouldn't actually identically copy like a meme or that sort of stuff, because it's just pointless for us. I think a lot of people that do stuff like that are just chasing like virality. They want their stuff to go viral, but again, it doesn't really benefit them. I think it's okay for like a certain type of brand, like, you know, like Ryanair's TikTok, like a lot of their stuff is like really humorous and fun, but it's obviously blown them up. But the thing is, they've already got the business and the amount of audience there, and the amount of customers, they can kind of in a way do what they want a little bit. And I just think like trends and stuff, it's hard, because then you are almost like strategyless. A lot of people will just think, oh, TikTok, I'll just do whatever the trending thing is today. And the thing is, you don't end up actually building up a real audience from that, because if you're just jumping,
it's not organic, is it?
It's not. Exactly. So you kind of just lose all real, not like credibility, but structure. And it's obviously like very, you know, sort of like day to day. It's just kind of, but yeah, it's not really something that we're like fond of doing. Because we'd just rather do our own thing. And also then we actually build up an audience of people that sort of matter. Like I always say, if you can get people to follow you for the right reasons, then they'll follow you, they'll engage with your future content. If you get someone to follow you because, you know, you've just blown up off one video, then it's really going to harm your metrics on your next
it will. It can have the opposite effect.
Exactly.
Totally,
And then you're just going to basically sort of run your account into the ground, essentially. So
I have been asked before to make a viral video by like my superior, and I'm just thinking like, no, that's not how it works, bruv. Like you can't just make a viral video. Like, and even if you did, so what?
Even
it wouldn't
if you
help.
could, what's the point? That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They don't get like. You're not going to get real business from it because that's the thing.
Yeah, terrible. Well, it's good that you have that perspective. It's good that you can see that perspective without trying at first, because it would have been terrible if I'm browsing, the Roma Black feed and I go, oh, that's a bit different, and I see something that just doesn't fit. But no, you can see that just by being a social media fan, I guess. Can't you? Yeah, interesting. I know that. Has there been any of our clients who have, like, there's been some clients who have really fit the whole kind of like jumping on a meme or something,
some in the past, but it's the same thing where I'm like, are you going to
only a bit? Yeah, ultimately it's an awareness opportunity, and that's it. It's like there's no conversions from a meme viral thing. It's just awareness.
It's about having that sort of like level of awareness, like you say, I guess, because it's great to be reactionary, like you have to be. But I think it's about seeing all the trends and going, okay, does that fit either our brand or our industry? And if we did adapt it, does it stop us from being credible, essentially? Especially for us, we're a B2B business. Like it matters massively that we're credible and we're professional. Like obviously we can be a bit sort of like fun with it. Like TikTok's obviously not the most professional platform, but any trends that do come through, it's like, okay, we'll be reactionary as much as we can, but we're not going to waste our time doing something just for the sake of it.
No, I totally agree. Like, it's like, imagine if you went on your feet and you saw your guys just dancing about from your connections.
I do think again, like reactionary is good in a way that if you can be creative with it, so you see something that's going on, and if you can add something to the conversation and maybe almost sort of like take something that's going on and sort of make a bit of humor out of kind of like taking, do you know what I mean, making fun of it a little bit, that's fine. But if you're actually going to adopt the format and then kind of take it, kind of ruins all. Do you know what I mean? That's
I think I was just going to say, I think we almost have like two sort of pillars. It's either adding value or it's giving an insight to the Roma Black team, the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love that sort of stuff.
So it wouldn't be a TikTok dance, but it might be that they're having a game of like golf in the office.
Yeah. Or you're bringing in your office dog. So I've seen that on your Instagram. I love that. Bear, that's it. Bear the Pomeranian.
My little Pomeranian.
Bloody love Bear.
That's content.
Yeah, that is content always.
I'll tell you that story.
Yeah. No way. What happened with Bear?
Like the first day that Lauren brought him in, what was it? I was like, oh, you don't mind if I touch him, does he? And she was like, no. And then I basically went to, what was it? I went to put his lead on him or something?
Yeah, well, you went to pick him up.
Yeah, I went to pick him up. Oh, yeah, no, that was it. I went to pick him up to take a photo of him for the socials, and he literally like tried biting my ankle off.
Oh, dear.
And I was scarred for about a week. And then after that, we've become best friends because I take him out for walks. But that was horrifying.
Was that filmed? That should have been filmed.
But now
that's content.
I was trying to film him, and he literally
a lot of the things, some of the things, and I guess one of my real pet peeves is that sometimes I feel like businesses do things purely for social.
Yeah, they do.
Whereas we do so much and you'd never know about it. Yeah. Because I just think that's not the purpose of why I'm, little things, bringing in cakes or we're having a celebration or something like that, you know? Like, I don't always feel the need. And even this is my personal life too, I'm not a big poster.
Yeah, I never post on Instagram.
I live in the moment, and
agreed.
You don't think, oh, this would be good on like the feed.
No.
But again, I think that comes down to a lot of businesses like that, just in general, like the difference between like culture and what they pretend culture is. 100%. Because if you've got like a really good culture, you don't have to constantly tell people you've got a good culture. No. Or if you've got like, people enjoy working for you, or you've got a good employer brand, you don't have to constantly tell everyone. And I think that's what a lot of businesses, you can kind of see through it a little bit if they're doing everything for the sake of posting about it.
Yeah, and I think obviously that is, people judge, right, based on social media. They judge people's relationships. Sure. Like you see a breakup, oh, they looked so happy. Like, on their social media where it's a highlight reel. I just think that in anything, it's like, be authentic.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on, just like personal, social people. Let me take a photo of me looking embarrassed. Mate, you decided to look embarrassed and then
you
post it
on your phone and then posted it anyway.
I hate that stuff. Seriously. I was totally authentic social media, even from a business perspective. Totally.
Yeah.
Authenticity is key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing I'd like to ask is the stuff like you're doing that football match coming out and you're plastic free. What drives that sort of stuff? Because, you don't have to post that sort of stuff.
I think multiple things really. I mean, just as a business in general, we do partner with sort of like charities anyway, like mine being one of them, just as much as like we can in general. So whenever they've got stuff going on, we will try and actively get involved. And whenever there's like a big thing as well, like whenever there's like mental health awareness week, that sort of stuff, it's good to be in partnership with these people, because then we can sort of like redirect them, and we're not just like making a post for the sake of it. Like it's something we actively get involved with. So like with these football matches and stuff like that, like these opportunities come up, and just as a company we try and get involved as much as we can. We've got like a 5k inflatable run coming up, which is like, we do loads of stuff, but the reason we sort of post about it is because if there's anything that's for the benefit of other people, we want sort of people to get involved. And obviously if we can raise money for the charity, like we do it for that sole reason. And the whole football thing as well is just like stuff like that comes up, and I'm always like, right, cool, we can get mad creative with this. Like we can do like, you know, like the sign-in post.
Yeah,
that
was brilliant. That was brilliant.
And I love it because people get involved. And so like we're doing it for multiple reasons. We're doing it because, you know, it's good to promote money for charity, all that sort of stuff. But then again, for us, it's actually something that, you know, builds a team as well.
Yeah, but we're passionate about it, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
You might have seen on my socials, like my sister's autistic, and so naturally, like when I used to interview for companies back in the day, I'd always ask them like what their charitable organisations were and things like that. Yeah. Because it's just something that interests me, and that I like to feel like I'm giving back at the same time. So I think, you know, it partly stemmed from, you know, my sister, but then also when we sort of started to build a team at Roma Black, it was really like, what matters to you? So it wasn't just a case of like, I just plucked some charities and was like, we're gonna, you know, have these as our charities that we try and raise money for. It was really like, what matters to you? Yeah. And so it was really like a team effort, and to feel like if we are, you know, doing an event and we're raising money and we're putting that out to our audience, well, where can we redirect them if they're suffering, you know, from mental health?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I think mental health, like for me in particular, I know a lot of people, is like really important. So if we can just actively work with people that actually do work in that field, like it's a no-brainer essentially. So again, it just comes down to like, this stuff matters to us as a brand, and that's why we get involved. That's literally bottom line. Again, it's just us being authentic. Like, you know, we're not doing it for any other reason apart from the fact that it just matters to us.
Yeah, fair. That one of the things that I see you post quite often is these inspirational quotes from celebrities and stuff. Yeah. Is that an angle that fits that? Let's inspire people who might have mental health problems, or is it just a recruitment, let's feel good drive?
It's a bit of both, I think. I think it really is like, you know, nobody is 100% every day. Sure,
no.
Okay.
Agreed.
And I think, again, like after COVID, mental health was obviously highlighted for a lot of individuals. So we post it because it might just be that's just that one, you know, quote that someone just needed to hear that day. And it ties into recruitment because it's trying to, you know, portray passion, you know, sort of work ethic, you know, just to inspire people. And I think that we're big fans of Stephen Bartlett's like Diary of a CEO podcast. So again, we like to sort of repurpose his content with really strong messages from some of his guests, because most people can like resonate with it, you know.
Sure.
So I think that's the reason that we do it is purely just to try and like motivate people, and it ties in, you know, we're a recruitment company, like we want to help people progress, and we want to help businesses thrive. So it works, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, just to add to that, I'd say like a lot of people do post like inspirational quotes, or like almost like kind of half-heartedly, and it's normally part of people's strategy because it's like, oh, Monday motivation, let's post that. Whereas for us, it's like we do it because we genuinely want to like help people actually like for betterment, but we do it in a way that we try and be as like, obviously we're taking content from other people, but we try and do it as like creatively as possible. Like, you know, I'll take the time to edit the videos, add music, like all that sort of stuff to do it, polish it as best as I can, so that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it in a way that really does add value and it actually gets people engaged, rather than doing like one of those posts which is like a really bad like quote done in like
in a graphic form as well.
Yeah, and it's always like in a way that people you're just posting for the sake of it. So again, it's like, if I'm going to do it and I'm going to take my time, I'd rather do it properly and do it well. So that's kind of, and also like, if sometimes you might not get people that are ever going to use a recruitment agency, but if we can get people to follow us for that reason, then it's obviously better for us, because then we're building an audience in the right way. So that's just like another sort of added stream of, you know, people to kind of engage with us, really.
You know, totally. That that's actually one of my favorite, like, I guess parody stupid kind of memes is when it has the wrong quote against like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's like Gandhi or whatever. That's what they should do next. April Fool's Day. Just forget the normal quotes. Do just a dumb one where it's like from a film.
Loads of random
make a random one. Would you jump on something like April Fool's Day? Would you jump on those kind of days? Because of course you do like International Women's Day, you did a post about that. But when it comes to the more kind of, I mean, I suppose it relates back to what you're saying about, is it a connection for the brand?
Yeah, does it fit the brand? That's
and it's like, is it adding value to anyone? There's always an element of let's have a bit of fun, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I think that what we look at is, you look at sort of like Pretty Little Marketer, and she gives, she just adds constant value, and she gives people like, these are the days, upcoming days. Yeah. Like, we would always look at what ones really matter to us. Yeah,
there are some that are just
people
nonsense.
That work for Roma Black and as Roma Black, like, do they align with our values? And they're the ones that we really then try to raise more awareness for.
Yeah, and also you got, I think for me, just ask myself, is it worth my time? If I'm going to do an April Fool's thing, then, unless you've got like 500,000 followers and you can do something that people would like almost fall for and then an hour later go, just kidding. Like for us, is it worth my time? Like, is it going to take too long for people to realise what we're getting at? Do you know, that all those little things, like, or do I just go, it's just another day, or maybe I'll just engage with someone else's post, that sort of stuff. So it's always sort of like comes back to that question, is it worth it? And a lot of the times it's not, because it's like, I could be doing something else that really does add value, or I could be doing something constructive. I don't believe in doing stuff for the sake of doing it at all. So April Fool's Day could be good, like, in 10 years' time when you've got this huge brand and you can sort of like fool people, and then it's a bit lighthearted. But when it's forced, it's not lighthearted anymore. Totally. It's like you're trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
It's almost like cringe, like National Cake Day
cringe.
and all like that. And you post it up and you think, who gives
And also that's the thing as well, like I think this is why format's so important. If it is National Cake Day and you go out on your way, you get cakes, like one story's fine. But if you're going to make like a whole carousel about like where National Cake Day comes from and here are the best top 10 cakes.
And by the way, we're a recruitment agency.
That's what I mean. Like, if, chuck it on your story, it's fine. But that's why format and stuff is this is why strategy, like all the little things, the nuances are so important, because someone would be like, oh, cool, across all 10 of my social media platforms, going to do National Cake Day. It's like, why? Do you know what I mean?
I think we had National Pizza Day. We get pizza delivered every Wednesday. Put it on our story.
Yeah, exactly. Put it on your story. Hashtag National Pizza Day.
There's always some things, that are light-hearted and they're just fun to do. But yeah, it all comes back to sort of our strategy, I guess, and like adding value. And do we care about it?
Yeah, exactly. And also really like...
Does our audience care?
Yeah, that's the thing. Showing that you've thought about what you're doing. I think that's so important. Like we always say, I'd rather miss a day of posting than post something that's awful or like bad quality. Or I'd rather just not, because I don't want to damage it. And also I really want people, like the audience, to be like, do you know what? They always think about what they're doing. And like obviously this is the dark social element again. Like I'm never going to know unless I go and ask people like feedback on my link. Do you know what I mean? But these are all the stuff that people think about that you don't realise. I never want to get into the habit of just doing stuff just for the sake of it. No.
So golden question time. So if you could choose one brand to do a social collaboration with, who would you choose and why? Can be any industry.
I'm gonna let you answer that, Sam.
I don't know. There's loads, to be honest. Like ones that are like, it depends on like if you're going to talk about like value or just like brands that I like. I'd love to do one for like a really big like gaming brand. I think that would be sick. Like one of the big publishers.
What about for Roma Black? If Roma Black was going to do a collab with a brand?
I don't know, because it's obviously got to like have value. I'd really, obviously, like our biggest one would probably be Stephen Bartlett, because I just love the stuff he does. Like if we could get maybe get on a podcast with him, or even do like I've done like a couple of like his podcast episode breakdowns, which I just feel like add a lot of value. Like if we could do maybe like a campaign series with it, he would probably be the one. Like really get his insights on stuff.
Yeah, even I think a lot of the team are like bought into his brand as well. Yeah. We went to his live show and things like that, and I just think each episode of his, like every single guest, what I love is that you might go, I probably won't really like this one, but I'll watch it anyway type thing. A complete stereotype, maybe because it's an athlete that you don't really have interest in that sport or, and actually they turn out to be the best ones. Like, wow, look at this incredible person with this journey who like is so articulate in sort of like portraying their values and their struggles and giving hope to other people that are maybe going through exactly the same thing. So I think that's what I love, is he's got such like variety that he's adding value to so many different people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even if it's someone who you might not even like you're fully aware of them, they're a celebrity, but you might not like them, still listen to it, because ultimately it's a conversation.
And it always disrupts your preconceived notions.
Absolutely. It's really healthy to... it's very healthy to deliberately seek out
Yeah.
conversations from people you disagree with.
Yeah.
So when you look out for Stephen Bartlett having a celeb on that maybe you don't like, whatever, you still got to listen because
I watched that one, Matt Hancock, 2 hours last night. Watched the whole thing, and I thought, wow, it just changed. Like,
it really does.
Released so much stuff, and it was fair because he was talking about where it was like 2 hours, so he could just talk. He wasn't on for 7 minutes where they were just out to get him, and it was like, I was like, whatever you think of him, I thought, fair play. It's really interesting.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, it definitely disrupts what you think about people.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like boxing, right, as a sport. If I had to pick, one sport,
Sure.
And Tony Bellew was just on the podcast, and honestly, it is one of the best episodes I've watched.
Nuts.
Like his values are so, like, honestly, that guy's moral compass is just like mental. I just think that, again, he's just adding great value to an audience of like looking at like where he started to where he's got to. So yeah, I think for us it would align well with what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it would be, and that's the thing as well. Like, we get the most out of it. I think it's not just about they're a brand that we like. Like, obviously Stephen Bartlett is his personal brand, but like just the whole thing in general.
It is a brand.
Even his social media team, like, they did a post once, and it was like he did a post, and it was like him and his like 2 assistants, I think, were like doing answering questions. It was nuts. It was like on this post, and they were literally answering every question. I wrote down so much stuff, and I was like, it makes you realise how much goes into even just something as simple as that, like consistently posting all of that, and like some of the information on there was like, what? Like, I've never, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just so raw and rich.
Even because I followed the Sidemen on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
each one has like loads of personal assistants, and it just breaks down.
Yeah, their own strategies and stuff. You think it's just off the cuff. That's the thing. Actually, the stuff that goes into it, there's so many people behind the scenes that make these things happen.
It's a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important to us. And that's why I would just rather not post for the sake of it. I would not want to partner with a brand that we didn't feel like, we could add value, or that it has to be a true partnership where, it works both ways.
100%.
Yeah.
What about just you personally? So nothing to do with Roma Black, nothing to do with work. Who are your favorite creators or people that you love to watch on social media? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Any random stupid account. Who are your favorite creators?
Gary V,
I like a lot of Gary.
Even that's work,
No, I like a lot of Gary V's. Just like the volume and scale of stuff he does.
Sure.
So a lot of it is obviously doesn't apply to me. But I just like his energy and watching that stuff. Jordan Peterson's probably like a massive one for me. Obviously he goes on does a lot of stuff with other people.
We're going to see him in September.
Yeah. I'm so excited for that. So he's obviously like, he's very sort of like that sort of like personal development, that side of things. But if like entertainment wise, I really like Beta Squad. Have you watched any Beta Squad stuff? They're kind of like Sidemen, but like newer, and they're like from London. They're all like they do like a lot of like entertainment stuff, but they're just hilarious. So I like that sort of stuff. Okay. There's loads of people I watch on TikTok that I just like the comedy stuff. I like people that are like quite different. So I will watch a lot of stuff, and like but then other than that, I watch a lot of gaming stuff. So like Twitch streamers, that sort of stuff. Not as much as I used to, but I think like the gaming entertainment industry is like still massively on the rise. I think it's going to like take over everything one day. So I really enjoy consuming that sort of stuff, and I have a lot of like adoration for people like that, because people do not realize how much commitment it takes, and the market is so saturated. Like, obviously you get a lot of people that do like podcasts and like that sort of thing, but the amount of streamers and like up and coming gaming YouTube, it is nuts, and some of them have done so well from it as well. Like that, do you know who Tommy Innit is? Tommy Innit, he's a UK-based Minecraft streamer, and he did like a lot of like Twitch and stuff. And then he did like a vlog channel, and he got like 7 million subscribers in like 6 months, because he literally, I don't know the exact details, but because he had such a big following anyway, he was like, I'm just going to vlog. And like the transitions you can make from a personal brand point of view when you've got that type of audience is nuts. They can do whatever they want now. So I have a lot of admiration for people like that. I think it's crazy.
What about you, Lauren?
I think like not necessarily from like a social media like standpoint, but I think I just look at people that have like built something really successful. So like Tommy Mallet, for example.
Oh, I love mate. Oh.
Like come from, Towie, but then, you could tell from his upbringing that he's got that like innate drive to really like build something for himself. And again, it's just all about consistency and not giving up. And I think that's what I love about sort of podcasts, that normally if you look at any really like hidden message, everyone's really started from nothing and had to build something, and had the resilience to really, get past, failures and things like that in their journey. So
Tommy Mallet's so good. I saw he posted about his Brody, his boy, and he was like, yeah, when he's 18, he's not getting any of my money. He's going to go out and work and stuff. And he posted photos. He was like on the side of a street on the pavement, having a photo like of his first trainer. But it's he's built it up. He hasn't just been handed this massive client base all over the world. He's had to go out and do it. Still doing it.
And even if someone's been given a platform, like Towie, for example, so they're more of a public figure, like most people don't do anything with that.
Yeah,
like so a lot of people like to jump on and go, oh, but they had this or they had that, or sometimes people do inherit a bit of money, but some people can go out and buy cars and designer stuff, and others actually put that into a business idea and really build something for themselves to create their own legacy. So I think that no matter what it is, it's all about like the person and what they're looking to achieve. And the ones that I think like resonate with a lot of people is because their values are so strong.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was saying, with the gaming as well, there's one where you said about streaming, like Little Simsy. I don't know if you watch her. She just builds Sims. She plays Sims.
Yeah, I've probably seen it on TikTok. Yeah.
My missus watches it, but
Little Simsy.
Yeah, Little Sims. She's.
I thought you meant the rapper.
No,
Little
she's
Sims.
absolutely massive.
Little Sims is doing.
They do a lot of stop motion. Have you ever seen like the stop motion stuff? So basically, they'll do like build a house in Sims, but then they'll like render it and like it just looks amazing, basically.
But she does like stream 3 hours a day. She would just sit there and she has like musicians join her. It's just like crazy.
The grind is real until and even then, I was going to say, once they do it full time, then it becomes obviously a hell of a lot easier. But in order to
get into that point,
get into full time, like I remember one of the oldest.
So few of them actually succeed. It's nuts.
One of the oldest and biggest. Oldest now, bloody hell. Time flies, but one of the oldest and biggest vloggers is Casey Neistat, and he said that he, for like about a year or two, he made one video every single day.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't just be like, hi guys, I'm in my bedroom doing something. It would be, he would do something like, and he would time it exactly, every single day for a year. Something like an hour filming, an hour editing, an hour publishing. And then like living the rest of his life with his daughters and sons.
Yeah, that's
so 3 hours every single day, weekend, weekday.
On top of the rest of his life.
Yeah, and then he was doing this until like one video went viral, which was when he was on the skis in New York. He hitched on the back of a police car, and the police car was zooming through New York. It was a viral video like 8 years ago. So he's one of the older vloggers, But yeah, the grind was real for like a year or two. And then of course, he had made enough money to do it full time, and then the grind becomes a lot less.
Yeah, of course it does.
It's your
but
job.
Then, the thing is, you say that, but then the expectation.
Totally.
That's the thing. So although you don't have to do it, not as many hours go in, it's actually, I think it becomes harder because you have a standard that you have to upkeep, and it's so it's easier to fall off than it is to.
Yeah, definitely.
And you say with boxing, winning the championship is one thing. You got to keep the championship.
That's
the way it works, isn't it?
And I think I watched a video from Gary Vee the other day. And he said he gets people coming to him like, I've been posting 3 times a day for like 3 months now. And he's like, I was out here for like 15 years, like adding value, when nobody... And then all of a sudden, one day, it flips. But it's because you've put your time in. You've been consistent, even when you're not getting much back.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think that's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, that's been fascinating to hear from Roma Black and the world of recruitment on social media.
Yeah.
Freddie, is there anything else you want to ask?
No, that's it, I think.
Yeah, that's good. It's been really, really cool talking to you guys. Is there anything you want to ask us as Shogun? I have no idea if you want to ask us anything on the podcast.
No, I don't know.
I guess we could ask you, like, you said you've got your own aspirations. What are they?
Man. Aspirations.
I think for Shogun, the last, George joined in January. February. It's just blown up massively. I think July will be a massive turning point for the business where we've got huge client meetings, and it could flip. We could double in size. But I think aspirations is to just grow a team. I think I joined. I was here for like 4 months. Got promoted. James has enough. He lets George do his thing with social. There's enough trust and just building people where they're like, here for the cause. I don't want any passengers here. Yeah. Put it bluntly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that I think collaboration is the key as well. I think that this idea of collab between you guys, maybe we get invite someone else on. We know so many people. I'm sure you guys would know so many peers or friends or something who can talk about what you do. Like everyone has had a job.
Yeah.
So you can talk about recruitment to anyone. Yeah. So I think similarly, I think so many people have social media, I say something because there is always one person who doesn't have it, but like almost everyone has social media so we can talk to anyone. I want to get more collabs on. I think that's what I'd love to be doing more. Podcast more.
Really focus on the podcast.
Yeah. But of course, I'd love to just grow Shogun in general. Yeah. Well, it's been absolutely awesome talking to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming. If anybody listening to this likes the sound of what we've been talking about, please give Roma Black a shout as well. Check out their socials. Tell us below what you thought of this as well. If you liked it, if you hated it, we want to know that. But leave us a follow, leave us a comment, leave us a like. And my name is George. We have
Freddie.
And we have
Sam.
And we have
Lauren.
And we will see you next time on Shogun Social.